Your hair may not be falling because of your shampoo. The real reason could be your aging scalp. As we age, the scalp changes. This can make hair look thinner and weaker over time.
Welcome to This Explainer. You know, hair thinning is, without a doubt, one of the most emotionally impactful aspects of aging. It's really tough to look in the mirror and see a fundamental change in your appearance that you just didn't ask for. It messes with your confidence, right? But today, we're going to replace that anxiety with knowledge. We're breaking down the actual science of why this happens, looking at the precise biology, and exploring the proven ways you can manage it. Okay, let's dive into this. 80%. That is the percentage of men who experience noticeable hair loss by the age of 60. Literally, 80%. So, if you're a guy noticing a change up top, you are absolutely not alone. It's overwhelmingly the norm, not the exception. It's simply a biological reality for the vast majority of us. But we really need to dispel the myth that this is exclusively a guy issue. A staggering 50% of women also experience noticeable hair loss by age 60. Half of all women. Honestly, a certain amount of thinning is just an expected, shared human experience. It's a natural progression of aging. And realizing just how universal this is, well, that's the very first step in removing the stigma and actually starting to manage it proactively.
Section 1. The scene of the crime. How hair changes.
So imagine your hair follicle is like a tiny, highly efficient factory. It cycles through 3 distinct phases: the anagen, or growth phase, the catagen, which is just a brief transition, and the telogen, or resting phase. In our youth, that anagen factory floor is just humming along happily for 3 to 7 years, pumping out thick, long hairs. But with age, this anagen production phase gets progressively shorter. Less time to grow means each successive hair sheds faster than the one before it. Eventually, the factory starts downsizing, pumping out tiny, miniaturized hairs until it only produces invisible vellus hairs, or honestly stops production altogether.
And you know, it's not just the growth cycle that changes, the raw materials change too. Individual hair shafts literally decrease in diameter as we get older. Plus, the pigment-producing melanocytes in the follicle decline, and that leads to coarse, wiry, gray hair. On top of that, just like the rest of your skin, your scalp produces less sebum, meaning the hair you do have can feel dry and super prone to breakage. So the really crucial point here is that thinner shafts, coarser textures, and drier scalps all combine to create the illusion of severe thinning, even if your actual hair follicle count hasn't dropped all that dramatically.
Section 2. The suspects. Common hair loss culprits. Now that we know what's happening at the scene of the crime, let's meet the specific biological and environmental suspects driving these frustrating changes. First step in our lineup is androgenetic alopecia, or pattern hair loss. Now, what's really interesting about this is how the exact same condition manifests entirely differently depending on your gender. Driven by genetics and the hormone DHT, men typically see a receding hairline and thinning right at the crown. Women, however, usually experience diffuse thinning across the entire top of the scalp, while their frontal hairline actually stays perfectly preserved. Keep in mind, this is progressive, meaning it's going to continue to advance with time if you leave it untreated. Our next suspect, nutritional deficiencies. Iron deficiency, specifically when your ferritin storage levels drop below 40 nanograms per milliliter, is a massive trigger for shedding, especially in older women. But we also have to watch out for zinc, vitamin D, vitamin B12, and protein deficiencies. Older adults are highly susceptible to these nutritional gaps because of a naturally reduced appetite, lower nutrient absorption, or just restricted diets. I highly encourage you to evaluate your diet today. Ask yourself, are you giving your hair factories the building blocks they actually need? Then we have the thyroid. Thyroid dysfunction, whether it's hypothyroidism, which is underactive, or hyperthyroidism, which is overactive, causes diffuse thinning all over the scalp. And thyroid disease becomes much more common as we enter our senior years. So if you are presenting with new or rapidly worsening hair loss, asking for a simple TSH blood test is an absolute must to rule this sneaky suspect right out. Now, suspect number 4 might be sitting inside your medicine cabinet right now. Go ahead and check. Blood thinners like warfarin, heart and blood pressure medications like beta blockers or statins, and others like methotrexate or certain antidepressants can all contribute directly to hair thinning. If your shedding started right around the time you began a new prescription, definitely talk to your prescribing physician about this correlation. But a strong warning here, absolutely never alter or stop your medication doses on your own. Suspect 5 is chronic telogen effluvium.
This is a diffuse shedding that happens 2 to 3 months after a major physical or emotional stressor. Things like major surgeries, a severe illness, hospitalization, or even bereavement can literally shock a huge proportion of your hair follicles straight into that telogen resting phase all at once. And be warned, if your stress goes unmanaged, that chronic stress can basically trap your hair in an ongoing shedding cycle. Our final suspect is traction alopecia. This is cumulative, permanent follicle damage caused by years of hairstyles that physically pull on the hair. Think tight ponytails, braids, buns, or really heavy accessories. You might have bounced back from these styles in your 20s, but the physical damage from those styling choices becomes glaringly apparent in our senior years as the surrounding hair naturally starts to thin out. Section 3. The interrogation. Diagnosing the root cause. So the crucial point is that you absolutely must find the exact culprit through a proper medical evaluation before you blindly start any treatment. Guessing is just going to lead to frustration and wasted money. I want to empower you with a very specific checklist of diagnostic tools to request during your next doctor's visit. You'll want to provide a detailed timeline and pattern history, ask for a physical scalp examination, and specifically request these blood tests: a CBC, ferritin, thyroid function, vitamins D and B12, and zinc. And if things are still a little fuzzy, a scalp biopsy can provide the definitive answer. Definitely keep this checklist handy for your appointment. Section 4. The verdict. Proven treatment options. All right, we're going to keep our expectations completely realistic and totally grounded in science here. There are a lot of snake oil products out there, so we're focusing only on what the medical evidence actually supports. The undisputed top over-the-counter treatment for age-related hair thinning is minoxidil. This is a highly targeted treatment that actively fights back against the shortening of your hair factory's production phase. It works beautifully by prolonging that anagen growth phase, giving the hair way more time to mature, while simultaneously increasing blood flow directly to the hair follicles to nourish them. And this brilliantly illustrates why product formulation matters so much, especially as we age. You have standard minoxidil, which comes in 2% and 5% liquid solutions. But the true senior-friendly option is the 5% foam formulation. This foam is highly preferred because it dries incredibly quickly, leaves way less residue so your hair doesn't look weighed down, and it's just much easier to apply exactly where you need it without it dripping down your forehead or your neck. Let's move forward and see how this builds into a daily habit, because we need to firmly manage our expectations. You have to understand that results take 3 to 6 months to become visible. You're fighting a slow biological process, so the solution is also going to be slow. Furthermore, it requires absolutely consistent daily application. And the single most important rule: if you discontinue the minoxidil, you will lose the hair that it helped you maintain. Daily consistency is the absolute key to success here. So we know hair loss is undeniably a part of aging. But which culprit is hiding in your routine? Is it a nutritional gap, a sneaky medication, or just unmanaged stress? I want you to take an active inventory of your health today. Bring that diagnostic checklist to your doctor, ask the right questions, and reclaim control over your hair health. Thank you so much for engaging with this explainer, and keep learning.
Your hair may not be falling because of your shampoo. The real reason could be your aging scalp. As we age, the scalp changes. This can make hair look thinner and weaker over time.